This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by Dave Coldwell here in a very cold Saudi Arabia. Dave, how you doing?
I'm not as good as you because you use a brain and brought a big coat to Saudi. Who brings a big coat to Saudi? But he has, and he's the warmest guy that has been here all night.
Everybody laughs at me when I turn up at these events, and then an hour later it's freezing and I'm stood there smug as you could imagine. But Dave, let's just get straight into it. Let's start off with a heavyweight action. We've had a couple of dropouts this week, but then everything that happened with Daniel Dubois dropping out, question marks over who's going to step in. Parker-Bakole stepping in. Both men absolute rocks for you know what. But what do you make of a replacement opponent in Parker-Bakole at such short notice?
I was on the plane when I heard first somebody, one of the passengers was like, Dubois out, oh my, and everyone was like, oh, and you know that sick feeling you have in your stomach. And then about 15 minutes later, where's Bakole's in? It was like, what? And I was like, no way, Bakole, what a replacement that is, because he's the guy that nobody mentions. Nobody in the division wants to fight Bakole. Joseph Parker's took him on 48 hours notice. The balls on that man, And listen, I get it. If you ever want to fight Bakole, it's when he's on a beach in the Congo somewhere. That's the best time to fight him. But flip it round. Bakole, Billy Nelson, they fought so hard to get to where they're at. He's got a final eliminator for a world title in a fight where he's a favourite and he's getting paid nicely for it. For him to give that up, to come in to fight Joseph Parker, who's on a rich vein of form, the best of his career, on 2 days' notice, flying over and getting in on the morning of the fight, literally, they must know something that we don't know. He must be fitter than what we're expecting. We're all saying, 4 rounds, he's got 4 rounds. But I'm kind of thinking, is Bakole one of these fighters, these throwback fighters, where they don't have to be athletically fit? By that I mean have to put in the runs, have to do S&C, Is he a guy where he gets fit by his sparring and he spars all that? Because we always hear about a sparring story, so he must do millions of rounds because Billy's always going on about his sparring. So is he one of these that's got this ingrained? I'm talking about like your James Toney's and people like that. James Toney, himself and Freddie Roach told me, haters training, didn't really do much of the training, just sparred every day. Is he one of those kind of guys? Because if he is, he'll have an inbuilt sort of fitness. Like I always say to my fighters, you've had 2 weeks off, 3 weeks or whatever, you come in, everybody should manage 4 rounds. Everybody can manage 4 rounds sparring. Or we start off at 6 straight away. Is he one of these guys whereas some fighters have got 4 rounds in him, he's got 8. I think maybe he's got 8 in him and they're thinking, we can drag and zap Parker's energy down within that 8 rounds. You don't have to get rid of him in 8 rounds, but you zap him to that point where he's just stood in front of you and it becomes a shootout sort of thing. Then they back themselves. I don't know, it's intriguing.
That comes into my next question quite nicely. You've mentioned there a lot of people questioning how much Parker-Bakole will have in the stamina engine, if you will. But if you're Joseph Parker, do you think he's looking at it, he's going to try and get past, say, the first half of the fight, or do you think he needs to produce something different for all of the reasons you've just mentioned?
I can't see Parker standing in front of him. I can't. Not early doors. And this is why I'm a bit baffled about his weight, because I thought, even with Dubois, I thought he's not going to. I didn't think he'd be stood in front of him. I thought his agility is his asset in that fight, and it's the same for this fight. With Bakole, agility is the asset. If you look at when Bakole got beat, it was against somebody that was quite agile, clever, box smart, had enough pop on him, but it was mainly the athleticism and the agility. I thought Parker has all the tools to do a similar job, but he's 12 pound heavier than the heaviest of his career, and in the previous heaviest of his career he got beat. Is it playing into Bakole's hands a little bit? I don't know, because I understand he's in against bigger guy and they want to be strong, but he's heavy and that body gets whacked around a little bit. Is he going to be a bit more stationary a little bit earlier than what he would have been?
We saw the likes of Lawrence Coley, David Adelaide mentioned. Out of the options, I imagine most would say Bakole's the best. But if you was managing Joseph Parker, which one would you have chosen if you could have picked out of the opponents?
You're in a no-win if you fight Bakole. If you get beat by Bakole and when you think you're fighting for heavyweight title in such a dangerous fight, and then you drop down either like in no disrespect, but in levels of Adelaide, that's domestic level. He's not boxed above domestic level in the UK. So if he was to drop down, you could get beat by the emotions dropping you down. Against Bakole, it's the awkwardness, and it's if you get beat by someone like him, where you're going to go. Against Bakole, he's like literally the bogeyman of the division. Nobody wants to say his name. And if you get beat by him, number one, you can come back because it's Bakole, and he's talked of as a beast, and everyone will just talk about what a beast he is coming in on 2 days' notice. But also, you would want to fight Bakole at 2 days' notice rather than 15, 12 weeks, 8 weeks' notice. You would want to fight him then. And also, on Parker's point of view, you've still got to keep your mentality up sharp. You can't afford sulk. You can't afford to feel like, oh, I'm in this fight now. Fucking hell. No, he's going to be on red alert. So it's business as usual for Parker. So I understand why they've done it.
Because Andi talks about every fight, Dave, but he's getting late, so I'm going to ask you about two others. Firstly, Josh Padley, with this unbelievable opportunity at short notice, he's going to have to produce the performance of 10 lifetimes at such short notice to pull this off. But stepping in, Shakur Stevenson, what do you make of him as late replacement?
Mate, what a story. I know Padley from coming into my gym, sparring with Jordan Gill, sparring with Stephen Cairns, taking an hour and a half off work to come spar, get a shower, go back to work. That's been his life. And for him to have this opportunity, life-changing money, it's fantastic. What a story. And it's great for all the fighters out there that don't box full-time, that have to have a job, to show them, look, keep doing what you're doing because there's a chance. We need stories like that. Listen, he's no way is he got any sort of favouritism where he can pull off an upset. Nobody's going to pick that. People probably back him because the odds are good. People back him because they know him and the pals and they're backing him. But anybody that's a neutral, nobody would think that he's going to win the fight. Pressure, to be fair, is on Shakur to put on a good performance and stop him. Shakur Stevenson goes the distance with him. That's not a good performance. And listen, Shakur's a character, unbelievable fighter. But he wants to be thanking Padley for stepping in, because otherwise he wouldn't have been boxing. So giving it all the big licks and stuff like that, and giving all the big chat, mate, it's Josh Padley who's a kid from small old boxing that works for a living. You don't need to be doing that, but that's Shakur Stevenson's personality that comes out. He's a great character, unbelievable fighter, one of the best fighters out there. It's a huge order for Padley.
And last one from me, Dave, obviously that main event, Beterbiev-Bivol 2, will it be repeat or revenge?
I haven't got a Scooby, mate. Honestly, I just look at it and I think it's going to be a better fight. That's the only thing that I'm positive on, because I think Beterbiev's going to go to the body earlier. I don't think he did that enough in the first fight. I think that could suck Bivol into a dogfight earlier than what it did last time, and we saw how uncomfortable he was in the last couple of rounds. If that happens earlier, can he endure it? I think Bivol's going to be better, because I think now that mythical character of Beterbiev, where he knocks out everybody, relentless pressure and suffocating you, he's handled that before, he's experienced it, he's tasted it, so now he'll feel more confident. You've heard him talking about he wants to do more, so I think he'll be better. But does that then play into Beterbiev's hands? Because if he does more, then his feet are in front of him more, where he could be more of a stationary target. I don't know which way this fight goes. The first fight, I was Bivol. And I actually thought Bivol won the first fight, nicked it. Could have gone either way for me, but I thought he nicked it. This time round, I am on the fence. But whereas if you put a gun to my head last time, I'd have said Bivol. I think if you put a gun to my head, I kind of think Beterbiev. I kind of think Beterbiev this time. I don't know. Such a great fight.
So if anybody believes in jinxes, your money goes on before after Dave's comments. Dave, listen, I appreciate your time. I'll leave you to go get warm. Thank you for speaking to me. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Cheers, mate. See you later.